Finally, the last one, how can the human being become eternal when matter is not eternal? So, here the first thing that we need to say is that this is based on, to a certain extent, we could present this in a very modern formulation. Okay, this is the law of entropy. That if you look at the manner in which matter functions in this world, it's all based on the law of entropy. Work happens. If work happens in entropy, then this creates waste, right? There's a certain amount of efficiency, but it creates waste. As this increases with time, infinite time, means there will be a point where the universe will no longer be able to do any more work. There's nothing left to create work. So it's going towards death. And if you go back to cosmology and understanding how the universe works, this is what they refer to as the big freeze or the big chill. That's one theory. The other theory is the big crunch. The big freeze or the big chill is, they say, the universe will continue to exist for all eternity, eternally into the future, but that's it. Nothing will function anymore. You won't have stars or atoms, or everything will, given enough time, all of those particles will cease to do any work. There cannot be any more movement left. There's nothing left. So everything stops. So this brings the universe to a very cold and dead state. So they refer to this as the big chill or the big freeze. The other theory, which doesn't work, but it was proposed a while back, they call it the big crunch. Just like the Big Bang. So that's what started it, but they say gravity will crumble on itself and crunch itself. And some have said that this becomes cyclical. Just like if an elastic, you pull it, it doesn't just do it once, it keeps doing it for a while, right? So Big Bang, Big Crunch, Big Bang. Anyways, one day we'll talk more about these theories. The first answer to this is that once again, they have taken a law of nature that most likely still requires a lot of updating and a lot of thinking about, this law of entropy, and they want to say whatever exists, if it is material or corporeal, it cannot exist forever. We don't know that. This is what you know today. In a few years, you might change this. You might find a way to keep this matter and all of its functions performing. Don't take your limited understanding of the laws of nature and then, that's one problem, and then apply them to the afterworld, to the afterlife, where we said it's a completely different reality. And when we talked about all the possibilities that have to be part of reality in the afterlife, we said that those are much greater than what we see in this world, because this world is limited by the laws of matter that we know, the laws of nature that we know. That's first point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is an example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it talks specifically about the bodies. It says, indeed those who defy our signs, we shall soon make them enter a fire. As often as their skins become scorched or burned, we shall replace them with other skins, so that they may taste the punishment. Obviously, if you read this and you want to apply it to the laws of nature that we know in this world, it doesn't work. So obviously you cannot take the laws that you understand from this world and say this is how things are going to work in the afterlife or not. Clearly it's a different world with its own set of natural order, let's call it, or principles or laws. And again, all of these, so it's not just this objection, all of these objections, all 7 of them and whatever else someone can come up with, the 4 that we talked about last time we met, a lot of this comes down to a stubbornness or an arrogance about the will and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end of the day, and we will talk about this the next time we meet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, this world will end and you are going to be brought into the next world. Now, if you want to, instead of focusing on what that means for you, you want to come up with reasons to argue that this is not possible and my little brain cannot understand it and it doesn't work with the laws of nature that I know, fine. But this is a defiance of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying there is an afterlife. And He's saying that whatever you do in this world is going to be rewarded or punished iota for iota. 1 atom's worth of good equals 1 atom's worth of good over there. So this should be your main preoccupation, and not coming up with kind of secondary, silly discussions as the ones that we saw, which don't really amount to anything if we want to look at them closely, and relying on these to say, and therefore, I cannot believe in the afterlife, or I cannot believe in a resurrection. Okay? So we're ending with this verse from chapter 22, which says, they did not measure God with his true measure. Or, in another interpretation, they have not justly estimated Allah, or they have no grasp of God's true measure. For Allah is truly most strong, able to carry his will, or able to, is all almighty, Let's stop here for today. I went way over the time. I apologize for this. Inshallah, it was beneficial and useful. And inshallah, this topic is completely sealed, and we can move on to the Quranic arguments for the establishment of the necessity of the afterlife the next time we meet. And with that, we will have concluded, inshallah, with that next lecture, we will have concluded the series on the Quranic presentation of the proof for the afterlife. Then we will discuss the characteristics of the afterlife, and we will come back to the Holy Quran for that, so that we can start seeing what kind of world is it actually. Okay? So let's stop here, and then I'll ask you a question. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين.